And she went into this whole thing about lifer, about strong prison wives, about everything. And she said, "You're going to die an old, miserable hag." Hi, my loves. This is Ro. Welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I am at visit for you guys that are familiar with me and why I stay in these seated motel rooms. And I want to talk to you guys about a question that I get all the time. And it's about how my family responded to me telling them about my relationship with Adam, who is a lifer in federal prison. So for you guys that don't know me, my husband is serving a 213-year sentence in federal prison for robberies where nobody was hurt due to mandatory minimum sentencing laws. And we will get into that another time. But right now, I have tons and tons of videos about Adam and the legal stuff. I have a whole playlist, so I will post that up in the cards. Again, for you guys that are new, I use my years of experience to help prison wives and family members feel educated, empowered, supported, and loved, not only while their loved ones are serving time, but long after they get out. So if you stick with me and use the tools and exercises that I provide to you, they will get out, they will stay out, and hopefully they will live happily ever after. So before I get started with that, I just want to show you guys are always so interested in what I eat, what I'm doing when I'm at visit, etc. So because I'm a fitness guru, for if I'm not doing prison wife stuff, I'm usually doing fitness stuff. So tonight I just ate like right after visit, maybe like 4:30. I got myself some Chinese vegetables, no sauce, and some shrimp. So, and then I worked out a little bit, but it started to rain on me, so I stopped. And now it's 8:30. It's a little bit late, so I have some leftover edamame that I was eating last night. I will have some of that. And then I just went to the pizzeria and I got myself this beautiful salad. And can you see it? Yeah, this beautiful salad. And their signature, it's called celery seed dressing. This town is known for it. It's their signature. It is so good. It's like a little bit sweet. Oh, so good. I have tofu in the fridge, but I think this will be enough. And then before bed, I will have my final protein shake for the day. I did do my what I eat in a day video, so you could see everything that I eat. And I'm not sure how these videos are going to post, but I think that one will post first. So if it does, I'll post that up in the cards for you guys that are new or you're interested in the food stuff and the fitness stuff too. I will post that up there as well, because right now I only have one channel. I know you guys are kind of asking me to do a separate one for fitness and food and exercise, health and wellness stuff, but right now I just only have time for this one. I'm sorry, but maybe in the future we'll do that. Anyway, not what this was about. So let's talk about how I approach this with my family, how I, 10 years later, still tread lightly with them, and why. When I first got back in touch with Adam, I was in my early 30s, and I explained this in one of the video interviews that I did with Adam on the phone where he interviewed me. And I'll tell the story in a little more detail. I'll tell it again here. So I apologize for you guys if it's a repeat, but know that there's a lot more juice to that story in this video. So I was hanging out with this girl at the time who was very aggressive. She was very passionate about a lot of stuff. She flew off the handle very quickly. She was very, very, very dramatic. That's not my personality. Typically, I'm just very go with the flow. I'm not very much sets me off. I mean, I'm a Jersey girl and I'm Italian, so when I get set off, I get set off. But I have a long fuse. It takes a long time to get to there. But when I was hanging out with her, I'm a very empathetic person, so I absorb a lot from people, and I absorb a lot of times people's personalities. It's just part of my makeup and who I am. So at that point, I was acting aggressively towards a lot of people that I normally just wouldn't care less about, things that were riling me up. And it was like during the mob wives phase in life. So everyone was kind of acting, everybody, as in, I guess everybody that watched it or was a fan, was like in touch with their inner Dorita. And that was me at that point. So for some reason, there was a text thread between all of my sisters. I'm one of 5 girls. So there were the 5 of us on there. And for some reason, my best friend that I've known since I was 7, she's like a sister to me, but I don't know why she was included in this text thread with all of my blood sisters. So somebody had brought up Adam, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It was that girl's influence, but I was so aggressive about it, and I was so nasty. And I think she was probably either telling me what to write or writing half of the messages herself and sending them, or giving me the phone and having me hit send. And it was just like, I don't care what you guys think. You don't have to talk to me ever again. I'm in it for life with him. blah, 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 blah. And I just filmed a video before this one about getting involved with a lifer and precautions to take if you do, as somebody who's been involved now 10 years removed or 10 years later. So know that that is either coming, or I'll link it there if it comes. I'm sorry, I've done so many videos this week. I'm trying to get them all filmed and put up before I go for the SPWF Strong Prison Wives and Families meetup in Dallas in a couple of weeks. I want to make sure these are filmed. So that's why I'm just trying to kind of get them all up. So I sent that text message, and that is the one and only time that my best friend and I got into a fight, I think ever, like a fight, and I actually made her cry, and she was 9 months pregnant at that point. And so I harbor so much guilt because of that, although since then she loves Adam. We obviously made up years ago, and she is on the board for Strong Prison Wives and Families. She's so supportive of him, so she doesn't harbor any resentment. I just kind of feel guilty because that wasn't my personality, and I was lashing out because I get putting people aside and I get putting people off and just kind of giving everyone an attitude if they aren't warranted, if it's unsolicited advice, if it's somebody that doesn't mean anything to you, if it's a coworker, if it's a colleague, if it's an acquaintance, if it's a friend that's not really a friend. But if it's somebody who's coming at you and expressing concern because they love you and you choose to push them away, or be so defensive or aggressive, it might be your own feelings and feelings that you have unresolved. And even though, yes, you want to stand up for what you believe in, and yes, you want to go after this relationship, I think a lot of times we have to take steps back and swallow that and realize that they're doing it out of love, as long as they're being respectful of you. They have a right to their opinion, obviously, especially somebody that's a lifer. So anyway, they were just being supportive, and they were being loving of me and wanting the best for me, thinking, what'll happen if you want to get married? What'll happen if you want to have babies? We don't want to see you alone, or God forbid, die alone, suffer and struggle and maybe get sick. Anything could possibly happen, God forbid, but it was their concern. Anyway, I was super aggressive about it. And then slowly over time, I stopped talking about it for a little while, but slowly over time, I decided that it was time to start talking about him again. And I would let them read some of his emails, and I would kind of bring him into conversation, and I would talk about the good stuff. And they saw a change in me because prior to this, I was just one of those party kids. I was out at the bars. I was out every night of the week, sometimes not going to bed in between and just going right to work the next day, probably smelling like a cigarette and stale vodka that was spilled all over me. Disgusting. Makeup drippy. I probably just kind of wiped it off if I did at all from the night before. I was a hot mess. So they saw that it was either just I was changing, I was maturing, and it was through his influence that my priorities in life started shifting, and I wasn't lying to my parents, and I wasn't just trying to see you later and go out and do my party thing. I was being involved in my parents' lives. I was wanting to be around my family. I was really prioritizing the right things and staying out of the clubs and the bars and the stupid young stuff. And yes, I was maturing at the same time, but I think it was through this relationship and through his influence that I really was able to step up and mature into an adult. So they saw all of that and they started to accept him. These were my sisters, and this was my friend. One year on Valentine's Day, because I lived with my mother when she got sick, I moved in with her. It was kind of a mutually beneficial thing because she got sick. She needed somebody to help take care of her. And also I was in this relationship and I couldn't afford to be out on my own. And also in this relationship and where I live in the Northeast, where my job is, it's very, very, very expensive to live. So it was kind of a mutually beneficial thing at that point. And it was Valentine's Day. Adam sent a letter to my house, a package. And so I came home from wherever I was. It was a weekend. It was like a Saturday afternoon or something like that. And my mother takes this manila envelope out from wherever she had hidden it, and she puts it down on the table, and it has Adam's name on there and as the return address. And she says, we need to talk. I said, okay, what do you want to talk about? And she went into this whole thing about lifer, about Strong Prison Wives, about everything. And she said, you're going to die an old, miserable hag. It's how she ended this conversation after we had words, yelling to each other, just not a good situation. And a couple of months after that, my mom's cancer came back because she was in remission for a chunk of time. And I said to myself, I will never, ever be able to live with myself if I stress her out because of my relationship that she's not accepting of. And God forbid it makes her cancer worse. And let me just put a side note there. My mother was always the type of person that she held on to that stuff. And it was like, what did I do wrong? I just want the best for my kids. My sister was in a very abusive relationship. There was a rift in the family. And we didn't speak to her for a little while for very good reason. And we've all made up since my mom passed because it was basically her dying wish. But she cried. She cried the last year of her life over this. And I think a lot of it kind of progressed her illness because she just held on to things. She stressed out so much. That was her personality. So in seeing all of this, I said, I'm not going to do that to my mom. I will never be able to live with myself. And I'll think that I put her in the grave. So from that day forward, I never addressed my relationship with Adam. We never spoke about it. It was just an unspoken thing. When I was going to visit, I just said I was going out of town. That was it. No questions asked. And when my mom passed, again, we never spoke about it. He sent her a card or two here or there. That was before the big blow up. And she was always accepting. That's why I don't understand where it flipped on her. I don't know if it was when my sister started to get involved in that relationship and she felt like, oh, I lost two. I don't know what it was. I don't know why the switch. But maybe that's when she found strong prison wives. I'm not sure because I never really was open about it because I didn't want the judgment. So my mom passed in April. It's now almost October. And I know in my heart, like I don't harbor anything about that. I know in my heart that now she sees the big picture. And I feel like I have an angel that's helping from the outside perspective where she doesn't have her human mind anymore. Sorry if this is getting weird, woo-woo spiritual, but I believe in an afterlife. So I believe that she is up there to help me. And she sees the bigger picture and she's not confined by her human brain with all of its insecurities and all of the negative stuff. I don't believe that in the afterlife there's anything negative. I think that she understands now my and Adam's relationship, and I think that if there's a way that in the afterlife they have any kind of pull to help positive outcomes, that she's up there pulling those strings. And I know that she is supportive of me. And I could tell you this, before my mom died, I came home from lunch one day and I used to check on her because I only work like 7 miles from the house. So I would always go home and check on her and give her food while she was still able to eat. And I walked in, this is maybe like a week or two before she died, and I walked in the room where she was pretty much living because she couldn't get upstairs to bed anymore at the end. So she lived in this recliner for the last 3 weeks of her life. And I walk in the room and she has her laptop in her lap and she sees me and she goes, and she shuts it really quick. And I said, what you doing, Mom? And she goes, I'm just working on a little project. I said, oh, okay. Do you need anything to eat? And I just went on with my day. And that stood out in my mind. So when my mom passed, I called my sister. I said, Amanda, we have to get into Mom's computer. And she's like, why? And I told her, I said, I think she was doing something in there for, I don't know, something just tells me that little project was something that I needed to find. Again, I don't know if that's afterlife, her like, hey, go on my computer. It was divine intervention that I walked in on that because otherwise I never would have found what I found. So I'm searching and I go into her Facebook, I go into her email. We have my mom's password because she didn't really know how to work her computer. So she always would be like, here's my password, just go in there and do whatever. So nothing in the email, nothing in her Facebook. I couldn't think of anything else my mom knew how to use. And I went to go shut the computer and my sister was with me. She goes, did you check her Google Drive? Because she had a Chromebook. And I was like, no, but I don't even think that Mom would know how to use Google Drive. But I said, well, I'm in here. I want to check everything. Why not? And I opened up the Google Drive and there were 7 letters, one to each of her 6 children and one to her husband, my father. And they were goodbye letters. And I printed them all out and I gave them to my siblings at my mother's repast. For you guys that don't know, because I know it's called different things in different areas of the country, but after a funeral, we have a little get together called a repast. It's just a little thank you for people from the family, for people who attended. So my mom had bought cards. She asked my sister Amanda to help her buy cards and they all said, I love you more, which was my mom's thing. My dad would say, I love you. And she would always say, I love you more. We would say, I love you. And she would always say, I love you more, her grandchildren. So in the cards, I say, I love you more. And there was a letter. And I printed them all out and I sent them, and I put mine in the envelope and I put it on my pillow, and I didn't read it until after her funeral that night. And when I went into that letter, it said, I have never been disappointed in you. You've never disappointed me. Go live your life. So that was my ultimate confirmation that although we never spoke about it, my mom was okay with it. She had peace with it. And that's why I know that she's up there in peace. So I don't talk about my relationship at work. I was confronted one time years ago. I have this YouTube channel. This was the first thing I started before Strong Prison Wives and Families. I love to be on video. It's so much fun for me. It's cathartic. It's therapeutic. It's the way that I feel that I can serve all of you the best. So I had this, and I posted a video every single day for about 9 months. And one day, one of my coworkers came up to me and confronted me about my lifer boyfriend. And I pulled him out into the hallway and I said, this needs to stop here. I don't need this going to HR. I don't need this going to our clients. I don't need to lose my job over this. My job, I've been there for so long. I have the vacation days all saved up where I can use them to take off the Friday before visit so I could drive 6 hours to head out and see him. It's 7 miles from my house. It affords me a lot of flexibility and stability. So I don't want to lose that because of this relationship. And I never came out about it at work because I felt like it was a conflict of interest. And I've heard of plenty of people, I've been doing this, supporting prison wives and family members for a long time, where when people found out, they were fired for something else that's not legal, but it's happened. So I said that to him, this needs to die here. They were just being gossipy. It never went any further. But that day I got in my car, walked out of my office. I went in my car. I don't remember if it was after work or my lunch break. And I clicked unsubscribe, or I made my YouTube channel private. And I played small for a while because I was afraid to get found out by colleagues and that kind of stuff. And also, there were some people throughout that time that when I was still trying to grapple with this and figure out who I was going to tell or what I was going to say, that I did tell. But then there were other people that I didn't want to tell. And I wound up getting caught in so many different lies. I hated it. So I just decided not to tell people in certain areas. So that's what I want to pass along to you, is you don't have to tell everybody. But as far as my family, I don't talk about it with my brother. My father, I lumped in with my mom. Don't really address it with him. My sisters are all very, very, very supportive. And extended family, my mother asked me not to tell anybody. So I don't. She was very, what will the family think? She was very, what will the family say? She came from a very old school Italian judgmental background. There have been other things that happened to my siblings, with my siblings, that she was mortified. Instead of saying, how are we going to get through this? It was, how dare you? What will your grandfather say? Who's no longer here. But out of respect for her, and still out of respect for her, I don't address it with certain people, with extended family or everybody else. But I think what I want you to learn from this is go into it with an open heart and an open mind, because people that you love probably will have a problem with it, and that just shows that they love you. And talk through it, hear them out, open your heart, just as long as you don't allow them to speak to you in a disrespectful manner or bring it up every time when you say, we're going to agree to disagree on this one. And I love you and I appreciate you and I thank you for being so loving of me that you are concerned, but here are my reasons for going through this. And you don't have to justify that, your decisions to anybody. If you're an adult, you don't have to justify it, but maybe because you love them so much, you want to, and then say, but we're going to agree to disagree. And if you want to stay in my life, then we're going to have to not talk about it if you're going to bring it up in a way that's negative every time I see you. We don't have to talk about it at all. Or we can talk about it in a way where we're going to agree to disagree on this. And that's it. And you don't have to fight people tooth and nail, and you don't have to feel like you're betraying him if you don't talk about it with certain people. I had that conversation with Adam a while back, and I said, if you want me to, I'll talk about it, because I don't want you to think that I'm ashamed of you. Or he was like, absolutely not. You're the one that has to get through life out here without me there to protect you and support you in it. So whatever you feel is right, I know what your feelings are for me. You've proven those a long time ago. You don't have to feel any way any type of way if you don't talk about it or you don't bring it up or you don't tell people. No. So that's what I want to leave you guys with. Let me know in the comments below if you like this kind of emotional stuff, if you want more background stories, if you have further questions that you want me to address, if this helped you or if you want me to elaborate more. Give this video a thumbs up so I know and YouTube knows that you like my content and they share it out with more people that need my help. And if you're not already subscribed, I would love if you do that so you never miss a future video. You guys keep staying strong, keep loving strong, keep supporting one another through this journey because you're one day closer to it all being behind you. Lord knows I am too. Lots of love from my heart to yours. I'll see you beautiful ladies and gentlemen in the next one. Bye bye.